Right, we are going to jump straight into this. This is a third and fourth category road race in the UK. It's the GT Ellingworth road race organised by Witham Wheelers. Thank you very much everybody involved in organising this race. We had a great day. This, believe it or not, is the neutralised rollout. However, there is a little bit of a hill, so therefore that's why it's a little bit hard to start. In about 10 seconds or so, they drop the flag and we are go, go, go. Apologies, my front camera did not work, but I've got all the stats on screen. Keep an eye on the timer because I do flick through the footage to get through the whole race in about 12 to 15 minutes. So hope you enjoy and feel free to drop any comments down below. Well done to those who rode. Here we go, 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 go. Flag's going to drop any second now, and then it is go time. I asked my friend Adam Kenway, how do you treat road race at the start? And he said, hit it. So there we go. That's me hitting it. That's all I've got. We had a strong tailwind to start, hence why I'm doing 35 miles an hour. I wanted to be at the front. It's quite a tight and twisty circuit in places. It's about an 11-mile lap, so being towards the front is a big help. That's Jack Rees behind me. He is formerly of Ribble Welter. He's a great time trial rider and triathlete actually, so just keeping an eye on him. A Rose Race Team rider behind him. You can see here it's quite twisty. John O'Holloway of Derby CC behind him. Twisty and turning. Look how strung out that bunch is behind. Being at the front is a big advantage, and keeping that pace up, especially with a tailwind, is a big help. I'm in a team of fourth, riding for South Normanton Cycling Club in this race. I do a few attacks, they go on a few attacks, I follow a few attacks. Here's one right away, go, go, go. I make the decision, right, I'm going to go with that. So I merge across and try and hit it and go with this group. What tends to happen though is so early on in the race, it's just a case of the whole bunch is moving very fast. It's just attack after attack, and none of them are really going to get away, but it's just keeping towards the front close enough that you're not having that slingshot effect towards the back. So although I'm doing a lot of power at the front, I'd be doing more if I was like slingshotting on and off the back. So it's well worthwhile investing a bit of gas in this. Here's another one, this sprint rider. They're a good team. So when somebody attacks like that, you've got to make the decision. Do you go or do you not? That gentleman just gone past on the right hand side. He's Lee. He's my team. So when I see him go past, I ease up a little bit. I'm not going to commit everything knowing I've got a teammate going up the road. I am still keeping on the gas because I want to stay in this group, and we're only 10 minutes into the race, but I'm not committing to following that move if there is a separation in the group. This rider behind me, he does break away a little bit later as well. We're just trying to sort of gauge who are the strong riders in the group and who aren't. When you turn up at this sort of thing, you don't really know everybody who's there, so you spend the first 10-15 minutes of the race figuring that out. We're back to another twisty section. I think I'm actually on the front here, but it's a tailwind and I'm feeling good, and I know that after this twisty section there is then an uphill. I'm not too good at the uphills, all that straw on the side, you don't want to run wide on those roads. So I know that being at the front of the group just gives me a lot better chance of getting up the hill still being in the group. Jack Rees just comes past me and I think, do you know what, I'm not going to fight him for that position. I've got loads of people behind me. He's probably a better bike handler than me, so let's see how we go. Right, tight left turn. Somebody here actually shouts, go on Dan. I think it was the Derby CC rider because I'm not cornering that fast. And again, hitting it on the gas. This is about a 30-second power climb, but you can see here, I'm losing some wheels here, right? These guys are powering past me, but because I was at the front, I'm only dropping down to 5th, 6th, 7th wheel, which as we were turning into a headwind was absolutely perfect. So I was happy with how I rode that corner. I did that most laps. This rider on the right is Lee Tunnicliffe. He is my teammate, so that is the kit of my club, SNCC. We're just coming up to the start finish. We do 4 laps in total. The finish is essentially about a 30-second climb and then about 30 seconds of false flats. This attack on the left, how fast he's going up this hill. It's only, what, 8% grade, but it's over before you know it. It's, as I say, about a 30-second climb. I'm doing, what, 600-700 watts? And I'm not really losing any places here. I'm pretty happy with that. It's more of a power climb than it is a power to weight climb because you come into it at such speed, but we're down to sort of 16, 17 miles an hour. Slight headwind up here actually, so it was beneficial to be in the wheels. Not a huge amount, but enough to make the difference between getting dropped and not. The rider on the right there is John O'Holloway from Derby CC. We'll see a lot more of him later on. Real good rider. He's on the way back after a couple of years not taking it too seriously, but he had a great day this day. And then we've got a young lather left on the Ribble Recharge development team. So a mixture of, like, you know, older and experienced riders and young and up and coming riders, and some people somewhere in the middle like myself and Lee. So yeah, this is we're not even at the start finish yet. In fact, we just rolled past it after that clip. After the start finish, there's this left turn, and when we turn left here, we turn into a stinking tailwind. It's massive. So I know when I come around that corner, if I hit it, it's going to be stretched out behind because of the hill that we've just gone over the start finish. And if people are feeling it, that's where I think the brakes are going to go. I know on this first lap it's not going to go then, but I know just stretching it out, just making people at the back work really hard is less benefit to be in the wheels when there's a tailwind. I'm hoping that's going to pay off in later laps. Here we go, another attack from Jack Rees. Now, I have to make a decision. When somebody comes past like that, you need to go straight away or you need to leave it. as I find out later on, the wrong thing to do is to, well, half-heartedly chase it or delay it and then chase it. Now here, I think I twigged that I've got Dan, my teammate, on my wheel, so I attack. Attacking from the front is a bad position. People can see what you're doing, but I've got a teammate on my wheel, right? So he's just going to let me go, which is perfect. And then as you can see there, that OVB rider's just come round him and he's committed to chasing me down. That's fine, but sometimes that won't happen. Sometimes people would have sat behind Dan and let me go. So it's worth trying. It's not always going to work. It's probably going to work later into a race, but I also didn't just want to let people ride off. I was feeling good. I'm on relatively good form, so I thought, you know, if there is a breakaway, I'd like to be in it. So I'm either committing to bring the brake back to the bunches altogether again, or I'd like to be in the breakaway. Obviously, I can't follow every single move, and I've got teammates doing the same sort of thing, but that was my strategy, that was my mentality. There we go, Jack's back in the bunch, and when you're doing such high speeds, it's really hard to get away from the bunch, so you can see how difficult it is. That gentleman on the left is a young lad called Otto. I believe it's his first road race. His teammate, Paul's just attacking there. That's perfect. So Otto was in that initial move that I then chased down. It's got brought back, and then Paul's attacked on the counter-attack. Perfect timing. Here, I'm half-heartedly chasing it. I don't know what I'm thinking. I think I'm a little bit gassed, but I think I looked back and saw I got a gap, so I thought, well, I might as well commit. And I didn't know the other riders in this little move, but you never know what's going to happen, do you? So the GoPro makes it look like you're further away than you actually are. It's quite a wide angle, so this isn't as big gap as it, you know, it looks like they're in the dust and they're miles behind, doesn't it? They're only actually a handful of seconds behind, I believe, maybe 10 seconds or so at most, but I'm committing here. I'm actually on a couple of people's wheels here, so I know that, right, if this is going to stick, I'm not going to commit too much to it just yet because we're so early on. But if it's looking like we're getting a decent gap, then, you know, I'm ready to work, and I'm actually doing a decent amount of power here. I'm going to speed this up for you because shock horror, I'm sure you can guess what happens. We get brought back, even doing 30 miles an hour, the bunch behind are just able to reel us back in, and we are all back together. Sometimes when a rider comes back through the group, it just breaks up a little bit, and that's what's happening here. This open collector rider is just coming back through the group, and I think, do you know what, I'm going to hit it here and see what happens. So I kick on. I know I've got a teammate in third wheel, and he's just let Otto, who's this rider behind me, go. So Otto and I are slightly off the front. There's not a massive gap, but we've got a gap there. So I'm committing a little bit of work. Now we're doing 35, 36 miles an hour, 37 miles an hour, 38 miles an hour. There is a strong tailwind. But if we're doing 3-4 miles an hour faster than the bunch, we're going to get a gap. Unfortunately, some of the people weren't fancying letting that happen and then chased us down, but these guys are moving, so I'm like, right, okay, I'm going to kick on and go with these. And then thankfully I see that two of my teammates are all over it, so I just sort of drop back into the bunch. I can't keep like attacking, but look how much more pace these guys are carrying than me. It's so easy to go from the front to the back. Coming up the start finish straight for the second time, we're just about to hit the climb. I'm positioned quite well towards the front, which I need that sliding space, and we're going to see exactly why. So a few guys just kicking on a bit there, but this is what it's like every lap. Everybody's going full gas up this climb unless you're exceptionally gifted climber, and I'm going full gas as well. 700 odd watts. This isn't far off my like sprint power, but I'm just giving it everything I've got. Now I do know that I've got a fair few riders behind me, so I'm probably not going to go 10 out of 10, but I don't want to, I've worked for that position at the front of the group. I don't just want to lose it, so I try and slip back through the group in a controlled manner. We've gone over the start finish again, and we're just coming up to the left turn where we come out of the headwind and come into a tailwind. So I commit a little bit of energy to moving up so that when I come around that corner, I can do the same thing again. I can kick on out that corner, perhaps catch those out who are a bit more gassy. Look how stretched out it is behind. I'm now into the tailwind, I'm kicking on, and my speed is going up. 24, 25, 26, 20, come on, 26, 27, and those behind, they're a few seconds behind having to kick on, and they're going to have to kick up to 30, 31 miles an hour in order to close the gap. I've got a teammate on my wheel, so I'm not going to go absolutely all in here because it's not broken up, but that was enough again just to break up the group behind. John O'Hornblow here on the left hand side of Derby CC. He was trying to do a big attack and get past me, but he's just cramping up and just going back through the group. See ya. Another teamwork attempt here on the left hand side, Lee attacking along with my other teammate Dean, and I don't see them until like now. When I notice there's two of them, I've really backed off here, eased off. If someone behind me wants to close that gap, they've got to do it themselves. So that rider does, and then a few more riders do, unfortunately. But as I said earlier, sometimes they just let that go, and that's what we're aiming for. I spoke earlier about if somebody attacks, decide this guy attacks, I commit straight away, no hesitation. I know that I want to be involved in these sorts of moves, so I kick on here. Now we're doing 33 miles an hour, so I also know if I put one big dig in, I'm then immediately or almost immediately going to be able to get on his wheel, and then the power drops a lot. So here, I've sat on this guy's wheel and it's dropped down to 380, 350-ish. So it's not like I'm committing to a massive sustained effort. I'm just committing to one kick that could potentially lead to a breakaway, or at the very least, just making those behind me work really hard. I'm doing 250 watts here. It's like zone 2. Another attack here on the left, that's a big one. Again, I'm going for it. I know that I want to follow those sorts of moves. I'm well positioned to follow it. It's not enough of a kick for me to drop the group behind me, but I know that I either want to be involved in the move or keep it all together. So, especially here where there's a bit more of a tailwind, I'm trying to keep tabs on who's around me, what sort of riders are around me. So I know I've got a couple of teammates in the top 10. I know that some of the riders that I'd earmarked as stronger riders work around me. And here, I'm not being silly and committing to doing all the work. I'm doing a little bit and then flick some other people through. And you can see here, look, Dan is just letting that wheel drop. We are on the third lap of 4 here. This is a 30-second kick. I'm poorly positioned. I'm quite close to the back of the group. So when we're kicking up this climb, I've not got very many wheels to fall back through. My heart rate's pretty low. I had a good recovery before this bit, so I had that kick to get up there. But if I didn't, I could have been out the back there. Poor positioning. I need to work better on that. We're coming to a left-hander here, and it's really stretched out. I'm on the front, and I think if I kick on out of here, I might just cause a few separations. So out this corner, I'll just punch it and just kick on. I carried quite a lot of speed around that corner for a triathlete, up to 600 odd watts, and it has created a little gap between me and the guys behind. It's not really that I'm trying to do. I'm trying to create a gap at 5 or 10 riders back or 15 riders back and try and cause a split. It doesn't very often happen, to be honest, but I just know that out that corner, I'm going to either be chasing somebody kicking on out the corner or being the person doing it, so I might as well be the person doing it. And we can see here, we've actually got a gap. So there's Otto from Derby CC, this gentleman riding for Apex, and myself. Now, they are working and chasing us down, but that didn't actually take a huge amount of effort. We've come through the start-finish for the penultimate time, so this is on to the last lap now. We've got a strong tailwind attack there from Paul from Derby CC. I'm asking Dan, my teammate on the right, how he's feeling. He said not very good, and he also said F that when he saw that attack, but I thought, right, I need to go with it. But that 2 seconds hesitation cost me this move. I gave this everything I've got now. There were 2 riders already up the road. And then this chase group was essentially 3 riders, and I'm trying to get over to those 3 riders. I can see them working well together, taking turns peeling off. I've sped this up for you to save you the pain. Long story short, I get a split here from the motorbike. That's the first time it's ever happened to me. He said 10 seconds. I was like, yes, but I don't know if that's ahead or behind. I'm working hard. I did something like 400 watts for 2 and a bit minutes, and this far into a race, that for me is fairly big, but I just don't get there. I got within about 20 or 30 meters, and I just couldn't close the gap, and then slowly but surely, the peloton brought me back and that break rode away from me. And it's a mixture of me not being good enough mentally, strategically or physically. I just didn't get there. Now that break of 5 is now up the road. I had a few minutes to recover in the bunch, and then I thought, if we can continue riding like we were, because nobody was really pressing the pace, they're just going to ride off. I've got 3 teammates in this bunch. I'm happy to commit myself to try and bring this break back now, but I can't do it alone. But I thought I'd try and inject some energy into the front of the race. And there were some people doing some work, as we can see, but not a huge amount of people. You can understand that's bike racing. This isn't a moan. People are saving their legs for that final climb. But I'm trying to motivate people. I'm showing that I'm prepared to work and drill it on the front. That young lad from Ribble Recharge Development Team, he's committing some work as well. And when I'm dropping back, I'm only dropping back to 3rd or 4th wheel. But I want this break to come back, but I also want to look after my teammate Lee. He's probably our best hope of getting a result. Lee's there in the middle. So we'd spoken briefly in the group, and that was the plan now. So Lee wasn't going to close any gaps. He wasn't going to do any work. I was going to try and do all those things, but more than anything, try and bring the break back. And again, I just wasn't good enough to do so. The peloton did actually get within about 10 meters of the break at the finish line, but it was just so close yet so far. So you can see here, I'm just drilling it. I actually roll off the front at this point, and Lee has to close the gap to me. Now, he knows if he'd let me go there's no way I'm getting to the finish ahead of the bunch because I've committed too much energy. But here, I'm trying to do as much as I can just to keep the pace up, keep my power up. I actually sat on somebody's wheel here, I think. But I'm giving everything I've got to try and bring this break back. Lee's giving me instructions from behind. He's shouting things like follow that wheel when people attack, and he's also trying to get people motivated. But so there, that gentleman attacks on the left, and I go with it, and I don't quite get the wheel. Lee goes and gets it, and I go out through the back. And that is it, me done. I've worked hard, had a good race, but that is the end of the race for me. A brilliant day out. Road racing is awesome. If you're thinking about doing it, please do give it a go. There's plenty coming up over the next few weeks in the East Midlands region and across the UK. Hope you've enjoyed the video. Let me know down below if you've got any thoughts or comments or anything, and I will see you again very soon. Lots more racing coming up.